On today's Starting Nine, we sit down and break down the new Carlos Correa deal. To the Mets, Uncle Steve Cohen pulls off a blockbuster last second on the Hawaii Islands. An amazing story we pay complete homage and tribute to. It's a loaded Starting Nine. The hot stove's starting to cool off. Baseball season starting to warm up. Let's get into it. Let's have a great day. Action! Let's go. Is right. Welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago. Jake bundled up in Texas.
Freezing.
There's storm coming. Sinus infection is already here. Big news with Carlos Correa. Massive guest and Tim Anderson about to come on the show later. Thank you very much for tuning in, White Sox fans everywhere. We should just jump right into why you're wearing. Normally you don't wear sleeves. Now you're wearing a hoodie with a vest.
Yep.
I think that's a scarf.
No scarf, just a hoodie. Just a hoodie. Okay. Now we're getting like a polar vortex that's going to spin through Austin. It's supposed to get down to like 12 degrees with a wind chill of near zero. So I got a lot of work to do. We got to shut off all the water. I got to drain the boat with all the water plugs and shit like that. Stuff we're not used to doing here. So I gotta get going. We don't want anything to freeze. So not
can
feeling great.
Can I make fun of you guys? Can I make fun of Texas for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Get mad if you want, but you guys are such pussies when it comes to like an inch of snow.
No.
Precipitation is your downfall. No, it's like that shitty M. Night Shyamalan movie where the aliens, they get water and they all die even though there's fucking water everywhere in the atmosphere. Plot hole, spoiler alert. But in today's age, that's who you guys are, the toughest guys in the world. Fuck your concealed carry if there's an inch of snow on the ground. You guys are.
We don't get snow. We get a little bit of ice, but the infrastructure is not built for weather like that. I like cold weather. I have no problem with it. I don't like to be cold, but I like the cold weather if that makes any sense at all. I jumped in the pool yesterday. The water is about 42 degrees. So look, I like the cold, but there's things we got to do to prepare for it. We can't just move around about the city like you guys can at Chicago when it's 4 degrees. So we got to handle things a little bit differently. But I'm with you. I'll take the shit talking, no problem. Before the show, Colin, rightfully so, is doing his Puerto Rican dance. That's a big, big deal.
Get your ass in here, Colin.
I don't know if anybody wants to see him do that dance again. And as a fellow Puerto Rican, I feel I'm a little insulted by the lack of rhythm and timing that he has. But that's okay. It's okay. He's a stock white guy. We don't dance very well.
Yeah, funny how that camera's off now. He was trying to sandbag ambush us, but now we're trying to throw him on the front lines. Nowhere to be found. Probably taking a dump. Probably cranking it. Now here he is. Now he's got to defend himself. Attaboy. Colin, welcome to the show. Are the hips still fluid? Would you like to show the folks on YouTube what you're working with?
The hips don't lie. I'll post the clip I did earlier. You can't remake that. That's true authenticity right there. It's just a beautiful day to be a Mets fan. It's a beautiful day to have a billionaire owner. I mean, there's a lot of billionaire owners, but it's a beautiful day to have one that's willing to spend on whatever it takes to win. This is the stuff I've dreamt about, and it's happening. Love waking up at 3 a.m. to see something like that happen. You don't ever see these deals go down like that. Steve Cohen is a bad, bad man.
Martinis in Hawaii over dinner, and then next thing you know, you spend another $315 million to bring in a guy like Correa. The Mets fans sure as hell feel a lot better than the Giants fans. I mean, let's talk about that for a little bit. How do you feel today as a San Francisco Giants fan? Potentially bringing Correa in, and then, we hear potential issues with the medical, and maybe there were. Correa's a guy who's spent his fair share of time on the IL. But so many guys have. So many guys that sign these big deals end up spending time on the IL. It's part of the deal. Like guys are going to get hurt from time to time. But Steve Cohen obviously felt good enough about bringing him in to do what he did. And now, not that the Mets already didn't look like a championship caliber team. Now this is something that kind of puts them in a position where, if they don't win the World Series, it's going to be a failure.
Absolute failure. All right. Not even like a letdown. And maybe for the players, they can say, we're trying our best. And that's a completely different story at the end of the season when they look in the cameras and look in the fucking they do the post the post-game press conferences and shit, and they can say, listen, we tried as hard as possible. But, I mean, if you're invested in the Mets the way our producer of this show, Colin, is, it is win a World Series or bust. Or I would imagine, like, at the end, if you lose to the Astros in 7 games and every single game goes extra innings, they're probably still looking at the season like a failure because on paper it has to be the best lineup I can think of since A-Rod got traded to the Yankees right away.
Well, this is the wildest thing we've seen in baseball, especially because of how much people make out of the luxury tax. And obviously Steve Cohen doesn't give a shit. It's refreshing to see as a former player, an owner finally saying, I don't care about paying the taxes. What the franchise is valued at and the amount of money that he has, it's no skin off his back whatsoever. I mean, he's got to spend, another, 115 million or something like that, which is higher than a lot of teams' payroll. But so what? The dude doesn't give a shit about, an extra 100 million.
Right. So you asked me about the San Francisco Giants fans. I had to look up the chief of police. Bill Scott's the chief of police of San Francisco. I'd have triple patrols on the Golden Gate Bridge. People just be jumping in the bay.
Fuck.
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
I can't say that, though. I'm just kidding. And you know what? I should be very serious right now and say, actually, the part of this show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
What a
if you're a San
segue.
Francisco Giants fan, how about that, pal? They don't fucking pay me to be sitting here playing slapdick podcasts with you. No, I will say this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And that is kind of a cheesy, but I want to get your attention because it's that time of the year. The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual, so when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/starting. That's BetterHelp.com/starting. BetterHelp, HELP.com/starting. Check it out, guys. Thank you very much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's show. Bad joke about the Giants. That said, if you're a Giants fan, it really has to hurt because you've watched this great core. It kind of falls apart. You're not falls apart, but it just ages. They win 3 World Series with the core. Some great pitchers come in and out during that time period while Posey, Crawford, and Belt are there. Right, Lincecum, his career's over. Kane's career ends, but Bumgarner kind of thrives a little bit. They get out of the Zito stuff. They've been navigating a ton of different personnel changes and frontline shit. In the meantime, those 3 guys gave them 3 World Series championships. Not necessarily a rebuild as long as they're trying to figure out how to work around Logan Webb and the other guys that are coming up. And now's the time to go spend all the money.
And they tried to.
And you've been patient.
They try to bring in Judge.
Success. Tough.
Had a deal on the table for Judge. Had a deal that was all but sealed with Correa. Medicals throw a wrench in that, and let's see. I mean, it's I guess it's not a done deal yet. I mean, Mets still have to do their diligence on his physical, but it wouldn't surprise me with whatever they find. Cohen's like, fuck it, just sign off on it. We're bringing him in. We're going to deal with whatever issues that are there. You're going to pay the guy $315 million. You're going to do whatever it takes to keep the guy in the field, which pretty much every other team is going to do the same thing. But hey, I mean, you deal with a little bit of injury concerns. Maybe you spend some time on the IL from time to time, which is expected. If we're just going off of his past history throughout his career, I think he has 7 stints or so on the IL. So that's probably going to happen at some point. But you put up with that for what he's capable of doing on the field, and he's going to play right next. He's going to be to the right of Lindor, who they have a lot of familiarity with, playing for Team Puerto Rico, and it just, I mean, as a Mets player, the other guys that are on that team, dude, you woke up and you saw that we got Correa too. It's just it can't be better for the Mets right now.
$495 million cash outlay this season in payroll. Let me repeat myself, $495 million. Now, there's some other issues here I want to get to with the Mets. I want to put this out there. We're going to get deep dive into this. But they had top prospect at third base, this Beatty kid coming up. And I'm not saying it's a big fucking deal because that Beatty kid doesn't get to play. But in a broader scale, when you give out these massive contracts, I think we're going to come back 3-4 years, and you're going to have a pool of kids like this Beatty kid who's like, yeah, normally, traditionally, historically in baseball, you'd be given an opportunity to earn a spot in spring training. But, like, those spots just really don't – the spots are becoming more limited. I think over time you're going to see kind of like a fucking bottleneck on talent coming up, which is going to lead to more minor league, reshuffling and centralization. So I want to applaud Steve Cohen because right now he's paying guys, he's pushing owners, he's doing a lot of great things. But in the meantime, the length of these deals, like Carlos Correa and Frankie Lindor, the left side of that infield, or the middle infield combination, depending on what happens with McNeil, which is another fucking can of worms. But my point is they have their infield, the left side, presumably locked up for a decade now.
But look, what I like about the chances of Lindor and Correa being able to kind of play out these deals, at least to near the back end, is the physicality and just like the makeup physically of these two players. I mean, Correa is 6'4", 220 pounds. He's in great shape. They're not, and neither Lindor or Correa are these sloppy, corner infield guys who are already heavy that you could foresee putting on a ton of weight, losing some athleticism, losing some quickness. Lindor's, 5'10", 5'11", in great shape. So you could just kind of forecast what they're going to look like as these contracts play out. So it wouldn't be a concern to me for either of these guys to put on a ton of weight, to get out of shape, to lose bat speed, at least until, the latter, years of these contracts. So you got to feel good about that if you're a Mets fan.
Yeah. Great infield, too. I love an infield that could potentially start an all-star game. And you could look at it right here and say McNeil, Alonso, Lindor, and Correa, they could come out and start an all-star game together. That's fucking great. I think the Cubs did that twice, 69 and I want to say
4
17.
of them?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I could see it happening.
How about that? Put that in the sports book. Go download the Barstool Sportsbook app. Gamble responsibly. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Can we talk about great left sides of the infield historically? Let's bounce a couple of these around because now Correa and Lindor are going to be playing together. That's very sweet.
They're going to be up there.
If I was a 12-year-old boy, oh, man. I'm just going to be sitting around watching those games.
Yeah.
When you log in, you play what's the game these days? The show. I gotta play the show.
Cooper's on the show. He likes the show. The problem with the show in video games currently, and all these parents can definitely agree with me, is when, let's say, the show 23 comes out. The previous year, 2022, everything that you bought and the players and the packs and the cards that you're getting for these players, they don't cross over to 23. So if you spend $300, $400, $500 on last year's game, it meant nothing. And I get on Cooper a little bit because he wants to buy these packs and get these players. I'm like, hey, that's all great. But then you can't do shit with them for 23. It's genius for these video game companies because not only do you have to pay $60, $70 for the game, then you're pumping in hundreds of dollars for these players. So it's a good time to be invested in these video game companies, and it's hitting my wallet. It's hitting my wallet a little bit. I'm not happy about it.
What's the price to distract a child? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I
the
guess-
value and the benefit?
Yeah, but I'm not trying to distract my kids anymore. When they're in diapers, yeah, okay, here's the iPad. Like, just let mom and dad have dinner. But now, like, they're almost like little adults. They have some iPad time. They play some video games. But man, they're gonna be at the house soon. I don't want them that distracted.
Yeah, it's a good point. Kids grow fast. I don't have them, but I'm already at college saying goodbye. They're going to Yale. One's at Yale, the other one's across at Cal Tech.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Cal Tech listeners here. Underrated school.
Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about the left side or the middle of the infield, middle of the diamond.
I'll
kick it
throw
off?
you combos. I'll throw you some combos across the way, and we'll just see, like, all right, where does this stack nostalgia-wise? I got a whole list here. Let's start. Here's a great one. Miguel Tejada and Eric Chavez on those athletics teams. So sick.
Very, very sick. I didn't have them on my list, but that's a great call. I got to play with Miguel Tejada briefly. Was always a big fan of Chavi also. But yeah, growing up, didn't really watch a ton of Oakland A baseball.
Miguel Tejada as I can remember, always had a big bulge cup. I just remember the white spikes and then just a very large bulge and then a huge dip. He had a couple bulges all over the place. Love Miguel Tejada. And not a big, tall guy either, just a fucking thick, meaty man.
Man, and the more that we've gotten to know each other, one thing that I've learned about you is you like to look at guys' dicks. It's just something you're into.
Well, I mean, I'm sizing them up. All right, I got a scout's brain, pal. Nothing's off limits.
Right, you don't go for eye contact. You're straight below the waist. That's your first glance. And I mean, I'd hate to see you around guys in gray sweatpants.
Well,
that'd just be tough.
You'd be surprised. Hey, I worked out through with Tim Anderson yesterday. He was wearing gray sweatpants. He's going to join the show in a little bit. We'll ask him where my eyes were yesterday. No, listen. I wrote in the Correa blog yesterday. I had said, we should talk actually about this for a second before we get into these combos. We've explored the depth of physicals more than I anticipated on the show. I know way more about the physical process, and you've talked about it when you were signing deals in free agency. You told me a couple stories when we were in Philly. Like, I think I remember you pointing out a building and being like, "Oh, dude, I spent fucking 2 days there just getting poked and prodded and stuff." It's crazy.
Nervous too.
This comes back now, dude. This will be a huge story forever, right? Correa leaves the Giants, fails the physical. Surprises a lot of people. So just refresh our guys that weren't paying attention when we went through this briefly. It's not just fucking put your balls in my hand and cough. It's not look at the vision chart. What are they doing to you?
Well, it's blood work. It's EKGs. It's checking your lungs. It's checking your eyesight. It's I haven't been to a doctor outside of a major league team for physicals yet. I have one in January for the first time outside of an organization, but it's 5 or 6 hours at least. You're going to an orthopedic. You're in an MRI tube for an hour plus. For me, I had an elbow operation, bone spur taken out in 2011. So you're obviously getting your elbow MRI, your shoulder. I believe that we had MRIs of my hips and my knees. So they're checking everything. There's nothing about you that they don't find out, which is a good thing. I mean, you need to do that if you're going to spend that kind of money on a player. So it makes sense. But the whole time you're going through it, it's like, man, I hope they don't find something that I don't know about that causes this contract to be void, and then I'm screwed, because you get real excited about the terms of the contract, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, well, we found a tear here or a tear there that worries us about your ability to fulfill this contract. So then they void it. And I've seen it with guys in the past, and this is probably the biggest one that I've ever seen, or anybody's ever seen. The contract with Correa's contract with the Giants, but it was short lived, because look, what was it? Fucking a day, not even 24 hours, until Steve Cohen and Scott Boras came to this agreement. Just another, legendary Scott Boras story.
Scott Boras calling Steve Cohen and asking him if he had $3 for 3B, or texting him that. That's a story Colin sent us. So he texted him late night, was like, yo, you got $3 for a 3B? And Steve Cohen was like, what does he mean? Does he mean $3 billion? Carlos Correa. Yeah, I got that. Whatever it is, just let me know. Hey, great little peek behind the curtain here, too, as an outsider. You just assume this mysterious Major League Baseball teams, ownerships, everybody's kind of on the same page. It's interesting to point out, the Giants were more risk averse in the medical process. And immediately Steve Cohen didn't give a fuck, right? So, he'll go through his medicals with the Mets, I assume. But it sounds to me like Steve Cohen is willing to just, cut the deal right away and is going to push us through regardless. Now, there's obviously the jokes, oh, what a great conspiracy theory. Steve Cohen blew up his medicals with the Giants. But the sincere takeaway that I'm, coming to realization as a baseball guy is it's two completely different clubs, opposite sides of the country, completely different strategies, both trying to win a World Series. And one team's like, fuck it, we'll cut $315 million. We don't care. That's the risk we'll take. And the Giants, on the other hand,
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's still going to have to, I'm assuming, go through the exact same thing physical-wise that he did with the Giants. I mean, that process is going to be no different.
but then why would they announce this right away? And why would Steve Cohen agree to it right away? It would have to be some sort of atypical. It'd have to be an anomaly. It'd have to be something that the Giants are saying, well, wait a second, this is a fucking risk. And Boris is going, no, it's not, dude. I got somebody right now that'll pay for him. Otherwise, I feel like, because Conforto was in a situation last year where something came up or he got hurt, and it wasn't like Boris was aggressively shopping him team to team. I think it was like, hey, here's the situation. It's going to take a little bit. Still worth it. So, no, I feel like
it's going to go through.
Giants,
I don't think there's any reason that this doesn't go through. But he's still going to have to go through the battery of testing and see all the Mets team doctors. But, I mean, I'd like to know what it was. I'd like to know what the Giants found that was that serious to where that they weren't willing to, sign this contract. So I don't know, because I doubt it was anything that happened, over this off season. I mean, he's probably got some dings and shit in his knees or maybe his hip. I don't know for sure what it is. I'm not even exactly sure what he's spent the majority of the time on the disabled list for. Throughout his career. But obviously not serious enough for the Mets to pass.
I want to get back to these combos.
Me too.
Sorry, I derailed
and
it.
There's some nostalgia here for me. Most of them are. You want to start us off?
Yeah, well, let me kick it here. We'll stay on the Mets then. Reyes and David Wright. Hopefully this combination stays much healthier than that one. But when they were on the field and they were healthy, didn't get much cooler than them in the late 2000s, like 07, 08.
That was really good. But I thought we were going middle infields.
We can go middle infields,
That's what I
too.
That's what I got.
Why don't you do middle infields? I'll do left
you
side,
can go left
because we're
side.
not sure if Carlos, if he's playing second base or third.
Well, I think we can be almost certain that he's going to play third base. I mean, McNeil's going to play second, right? I mean, I heard some argument that you want your best two athletes to play up the middle. Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, third base is a pretty fucking important position as well. If you have an adequate second baseman, you put. I don't even know if Correa would. I don't know if he'd want to play second. But with the shift, I mean, think about how much time he spent on the right side of second base. But that's not going to happen anymore.
No, and I don't know. I still think third base is more of a premium position defensively without the shift, because, listen, when a guy's smoking the ball on the right side of the field, he's smoking a fucking baseball.
Right, you need more arm strength.
Whether or not you're a better second base or not, I don't know how much that helps with those balls that are going to go through anyways. I think it's more about being able to field slow rollers and having like a broader range for the balls that aren't fucking shit on. One thing I just point out with the second base play is, Mark Cannon was productive. He gets on base a ridiculous amount. He's been hit 55 times in the last 2 seasons. There is an opportunity, I would say, to move McNeil to left instead of Canna, if that should be the case. If Canna plays him way out, gets hurt, he'll be 34 next season. Because they have this third base prospect they're sitting in the wings. And then at that point, is it Correa or Lindor who goes to second base? Is Correa that much more of a second base? I don't know how that would work. But it'd be funny if this turned into a big Mets controversy. Like if they were 500 in mid-June and people were like, well, this is what happens when you don't tell them what positions they're playing.
I think both of them are plenty good of athletes to make that move if they wanted to. And you got Buck Showalter as a manager. We know what kind of guy he is. I think he has the most wins as a manager without is it the most wins as a manager without something? I don't even remember what the fuck it was, but I mean he's a leader. I mean Lindor's all in, Correa will be all in. They both have their money. So if it was me, like you need me to go play a different position for the team, I've got no problem with that. I'm not trying to get to free agency to make a certain amount of money, like whatever. Like they've already got all that. That's already secured. So at this point, it's whatever we got to do to win.
As a manager or pitcher, put your Pick a starting middle infield combo between the two.
For the Mets, middle infield. I mean,
You're pitching for him. You turn
well,
around.
if it's me, I mean, if it's me, if I'm just picking, yeah. I mean, I'd probably like to see, Correa at shortstop and Lindor at second base, but I'd be totally fine
because I see him as equal.
Yeah, I mean, they're both amazing, but I'd also be totally fine.
I don't know if there's some nuanced thing though. Okay.
I don't know, like if we dug into the analytics, whose range factor, whatever, is better here or there. I'm not sure, but.
I don't buy that shit that much anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be totally fine. And some of that's baseball instincts. Like these guys understand where to position themselves based on who's at the plate, who's on the mound. But if you're telling me I get Lindor at short, Correa at third base, and Jeff McNeil at second base, I'm pretty fucking happy with that.
Well, the reason I bring this up, 2 quick stories come to mind. The first, I told you, we talked about this on the show. I played golf with Joe Madden, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, you told me a lot.
Year and a half ago. Yeah, thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Big day for me. You didn't give a fuck. Whatever. His bench coach, Mikey Gags. Okay, Mike Gallegos played for the Athletics. Tony La Russa played for the Yankees for a little bit, and he's long been with the Angels and buddies with Joe Madden. Okay, so he stayed with the Angels. So he was telling me a story. I said, hey, you coached the middle infielders for the Angels. I think you've coached 2 of like the guys, in my opinion, are like the best hands or the best middle infielders I've heard about my generation. Like if you had to pick between Jose Iglesias and Andrelton Simmons, who would you pick? And he fucking laughed me off that bus. He laughed. We were like pulling up to the Ritz-Carlton after he was like, get off. He was just laughing hysterically. And then he was telling the other coaches, can you believe this fucking guy? We've hung out all day and he waits till now to ask the dumbest fucking question I've ever heard. He goes, how could you ever think somebody could be compared to Andrelton Simmons? He goes, Jose Iglesias is a great player too. Fine hands, fine ball player. One of the better shortstops I've coached. He goes, but to compare anybody to Andrelton Simmons. Now, I knew that he was good. I didn't know he was that good. So that's why I asked, like, I didn't know if there was something there about Lindor or Correa where you would say, dude, you have no, until you see Lindor charge a ball up the middle or something like that.
I couldn't easily pick one over the other. I couldn't, and maybe somebody can, but for me, I mean, it's flip a coin. I would gladly take either one of those guys at shortstop.
Other one would be playing third base or second base. I never thought about it like this until KB got traded to the Giants. Chris Byron gets traded to the Giants. He's playing the Cubs like 2 weeks later, and he's got this sponsorship with Red Bull. And I got a buddy who works with Red Bull, and he goes, hey, he's got to do one more media appearance. Why don't we just do like an interview with Barstool? Super easy for us to do if you guys put the video up on Barstool. You can talk to KB. So I did this like sit down, like get to do the sit down with him in the batting cages of sluggers. And so one of the questions I asked him was like, hey, challenges this year, and now that you're out in San Francisco playing the outfield, like what's one of the biggest differences? And he sincerely meant, he's like, do you know how much more I have to jog now that I play right field versus third base? He goes, I used to have to just go to third base and just walk to third base. Now, he goes, I'm running like 1.5 miles if you ever added up how much running an outfielder has to do. And he goes, if I had my choice, I would take third base because it's so much easier.
Yeah, I agree with Chris there a little bit, but come on, man. You can jog your ass to right field. It's
That's
just
so
a jog.
big league.
It is so big league. I love you, Chris, but you can handle the jog. And he's so pretty to watch run out. It's good for the fans. It's good for the fans to watch him, make that jog. It's nice. Everyone loves that. Handsome fella.
From the perspective of a guy who was a prospect, you were a prospect. People talked about you before you did anything.
Yes.
That's how I look at prospects. Okay, but can't wait for this guy. When KB got called up in May or late April or whatever, is a guy who had been a prospect really like, all right, let's see what this guy's got? Or is it like, oh, this guy's supposed to be good, he should be good?
Well, I knew he was going to be really, really good, and I got to see it in spring training. Like we're all like, how are we not going to put this guy on our opening day roster? And we understood why for contract reasons. But I think he hit. If you look up, how many home runs he hit that spring training, he hit like 7 or 8 homers, and it's like this is easily one of our top 3 hitters. So it was frustrating to see that. But you rarely see a prospect that kind of pans out to the expectations like Chris did. Like he's one of the best young hitters I had ever seen. And talking to him about his hitting philosophy, and I think a lot of this, his dad deserves a lot of credit. He wanted, and Chris was so big and strong that he could do this. Well, all he was trying to do was hit fly balls to right center field. He was trying to elevate the ball to right center field, and it just so happened that KB's fly balls went 420 feet. If 60% of the guys in the big leagues try and do that, they're hitting cans of shit to the outfield. But his bat speed, his strength, and his size just produced those types of fly balls, and it really worked for him.
Bag of shit, pile of shit. I got a lot of shits. I have not used can of shit. I had a good laugh there. Thank you. That's going in the arsenal.
You're very welcome. I'm going to jump into my middle infields because I was coming up with these earlier, and
thank you.
And very nostalgic for me. My first one, from the Texas Rangers, and this was when I was in high school. So 2001 to 2003, when they had Alex Rodriguez and Michael Young. Michael Young, has always been one of my favorite players. Loved watching him play. I mean, I think that they had, it wasn't the highest, fielding percentage, but it was really good. I think A-Rod had 2 Gold Gloves. I think Michael Young was deserving of one. He didn't get it, but they had a 985 fielding percentage. And yeah, I got to see them play a lot those 3 years. So they're pretty high on my list. I wouldn't say they're number one, but because I grew up north of Dallas and got to see it in person, became a tremendous fan of Michael Young. I was an A-Rod fan for a while, not so much anymore, but I'd say that's number 5 on my list.
Yeah, you definitely. It's one of those maybe don't meet your heroes thing, or. Well, you were a kid when A-Rod was playing for the Rangers. Maybe not a kid. You were like 15 years old when he was winning MVPs
16.
on a bad
Yeah.
team. Well, I was gonna give this guy's name. You're gonna kill me because it's like Bulls related. So maybe I'll save him for honorable mention. Let's go. Rafael Furcal and Chipper Jones. For a sliver of time there, you had the most dynamic shortstop in the game. Rafael Furcal was electric, stealing like 50 bags. 20 bombs, had an 80 arm, plus arm at shortstop, blowing people away. Kind of came out of nowhere, too. And then obviously Chipper is just Larry is as sweet, I say that word a lot around here, is as sweet as it fucking gets. As big league as it gets, as cool as it gets. Just love Chipper Jones.
I think everybody did. I don't know if there's a guy that didn't love Chipper Jones unless they're just not fans of the Braves. I mean, just doing it from both sides of the plate just always looked good. I love seeing him with his pants up. Just beautiful guy. And talking about prospects, I mean, he might have been one of the biggest out there at the time.
Sure thing. A slam dunk, sure thing. Maybe not to the extent Bryce Harper was like on the cover of Sports Illustrated and stuff, but back when he got drafted late, I think he got drafted, yeah. He was a couple years before A-Rod. And he was such a sure thing. You could probably argue that, like, how good Chipper Jones was, how quick he got to the big leagues, how productive he was, fueled future big stars to be like, whoa, we're as right about this guy as we're going to be as right about Chipper Jones. And then I think he was a shortstop, too, where they're like, you know what? If we move him to third base now, we'll get 15, 20 years out of him as a third baseman.
Yeah, and to play his entire career. I just love when guys play their entire career with one team. 19 seasons with the Braves. I mean, he was only, I say only. I think he was an all-star, an 8-time all-star, which to me is kind of crazy that he didn't have, I mean, from 2002 to 2007, he was not an all-star any of those seasons, but he had MVP votes in 4 of the 6. So just very strange to me.
Can I just throw in the reason why, or I would
Sure.
I would say that sometimes there's only 2 corner infielders. You get 2 third basemen, 2 first basemen, or you get 5 corner infielders. It's the steroid era too, and he's not a guy who got thrown around a lot with like steroid era stuff. So as he's kind of getting into his like mid to late 30s, right. I know the batting average went up, but then you're looking at guys playing third base there where like some monster numbers are coming up, some huge seasons year in year out.
Yeah, because he was hitting 35. I mean his most homers was 45 homers, so he was kind of around low 20s to mid 30s. So it wasn't, he wasn't in 50, 55 every year like some of these other guys.
Very comfortable with this pick. Little off the board there with Rockville for call. Some people are going to raise their eyebrows. But if that's a name you're not familiar with because you're young, please go check out his baseball reference page and then put yourself in the shoes of a 12, 13-year-old when he broke in the big leagues. What else you got here, middle infielders, big fella?
My next one, and this is just because, how cool is it to be able to play with your fucking brother right next to you? I got Cal Ripken and Billy Ripken in Baltimore in 88 through, was it 91 or 92? And I think Cal's only 2 Gold Gloves were won in that span, that four-year span. Maybe because he was playing next to his brother. I mean, pretty fucking cool. And I, started my career with the Orioles. Love the uniforms. Love Camden Yards. Big fan of Cal. So I got to go with those 2 guys. And a fielding percentage of .986 over those years. So pretty fucking solid middle infield.
All right, I'll give shout out. Here's a championship combination. Here's a Chicago kid, not my team though. Juan Uribe and Joe Creedy. Joe Creedy, bad back, monster season in 2005. Was a higher draft pick, I believe, out of Missouri, some directional school, state or something, but had kind of climbed up the prospect rankings and up at a time when White Sox fans are very much looking for like where's the next Robin Ventura coming from. I don't think they had some challenges filling in for third base after Ventura left. So the fan base very much gravitated towards Joe Creedy. And then Uribe is just like, I think he might still be fucking playing, dude. Juan Uribe, all-time guy that, like, generation above and below me will never care about. But if you watch Juan Uribe play, just respect the shit out of that guy.
Yeah, he had one of the most violent, like, kind of, it wasn't a bat flip. It's like at the end of his swing, didn't he fucking drop it really aggressively?
Bro, he swings a baseball bat like Tiger hits a stinger where the ball just, he just stops right away at contact.
Yep. Juan Uribe.
All right,
nice round face. Nice round face. Good looking guy.
Don't get mad at me, but he's a Bulls guy too. Legend has it he does have the biggest piece in the big leagues.
You are a dick guy. You just are. I know.
Dude, I'm an internet guy. I live on the internet.
What
do you want me to say? I'm an internet guy. He's got a Coke can.
I bet he does. We can find out.
No, I'm telling you as an internet guy, as a guy who has to sit here on Twitter and fucking laugh and joke his way through.
So you know that.
Sub 500 team. Bro, it's the legend of Juan Uribe walking in the clubhouse after, because he's been, how many teams has he played for? One, two, three, four. He's played on 7 teams, and apparently all 7 times he's walked in a clubhouse shower for the first time. All 7 teams. Somebody had to be revived with smelling salts.
Okay.
They say you could sit there and throw sunflower seeds, and he could swing his hips and take batting practice in the clubhouse.
If that's true or not, it's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Good for you.
You know what? I'm kind of branding myself on today's show. That's fine. I'll be the dick guy.
Yeah.
I'll be the dick
That's
guy.
okay. I mean, you respect dicks, and I understand. I respect them too. On that note, I'm going to go to the Wizard and Jose Oquendo, Ozzie Smith. Jose Oquendo, St. Louis Cardinals, 1989 to 1991. Ozzie won a Gold Glove in all 3 of those years, and Oquendo was the Cardinals' third base coach while I was there. So just something that's kind of nostalgic too. Like, fuck, I used to watch this guy play middle infield with maybe the best shortstop ever. Oquendo led the National League in fielding percentage in 89 and 90. And they were at a 996 fielding percentage in 1990 combined, which is pretty fucking incredible. So I loved watching those guys play together. Even though it was mostly kind of, reruns or highlights because I was, 4 years old.
I have a bold take about Ozzie Smith. You know what? I should make the take and then let you describe if it's bold or not. Poor form on my part. Regardless, those St. Louis Cardinals teams on the AstroTurf, the fact that that was such like a unique playing surface, or maybe the circumstance of such when they had like really honed in, we're like, we'll be the AstroTurf team, we'll hit it down and hard, we'll run the bases. I feel like Ozzie Smith was put in way more chances to make sweet plays because he played on like a concrete surface where he could play super deep. And when you went into that stadium, it was like, hey, keep the ball down and hard and stuff because the fucking ball moves. So Not to take anything away from Ozzie Smith. I know he played a ton with the Padres and did amazing things not on AstroTurf.
So do you know this for sure that he played extra depth because of the AstroTurf, or are you just saying that?
I would assume he gets to play.
We'd have to find that. I'd have to look.
Let's call the
know.
professor. The professor will tell you exit velocities on the ground are going to be higher, pushes him back.
I would say it's incredible that their fielding percentage was so high because of the turf. The turf used to be awful. The turf was basically just, a tiny shit layer of turf on top of concrete. So the hops were terrible, way higher hops. Ball would get through the infield quicker. I think if you asked him, he would have rather played on grass.
For all the crazy shit he had to do, 100%.
Yeah. So,
but
I think that old turf is the new turf. Yes, I mean the hops are way more true. They don't scoot through the infield quite as quick. It resembles real grass much more closely. So yeah, that old turf was awful.
Indiana State had it. We played at Indiana State. They just had the infield like that, and the outfield was grass. And the coaches were joking around on the bus right now. They're like, "Hey, we get to Indiana State, just so you guys know, if I can play your ass on the very back of this thing, the ball moves so quick." And we had turf. We had the play turf that they use, whatever. And it had been enough of a thing. And even then, we got out there, and you couldn't believe how much the ball skipped and moved. And interesting to hear more about it. I want to talk to an expert about the role of AstroTurf in middle infield play back in the 80s. But I'm still up now, am I?
Yeah. Who's your third?
I mean, I'll get killed if I don't even talk about him, right? I'm a sucker if I don't say A-Rod and Jeter. So let's just talk about that for a second. Jeter was not nearly as good as A-Rod at shortstop.
Yeah, I agree.
And Jeter could have played second base. Jeter could have went to third base.
Does this surprise you that A-Rod, being the type of guy that he is or was, that he was willing to move to third base? Or if there's one guy that you're going to move to third base for, it's Derek Jeter.
Oh. What surprises me is how much people paint Derek Jeter as the fucking best teammate of all time and how much of a villain A-Rod's painted as. Now, I'm not saying one should be the other, but they're way closer in the middle than people realize. They have to be. It's not like Derek Jeter's some down-to-earth. He's probably super casual, raised as such. Well, come on, captain of the Yankees for 15 fucking years, king of Manhattan, 5 rings. Don't tell me that guy's super cool down there, and then at the same time tell me A-Rod's this bad, mean, malicious douchebag. Now, to a certain extent, yeah, selfish guy, but of course, he's fucking A-Rod. These are two legendary figures in one of the hardest things, period. So, the fact that A-Rod was willing to play third base says more to me that he's probably a much better guy than he gets credit for, and the fact that Jeter, hey, we have A-Rod. You really want to go win rings? Go move over to second base, and he doesn't move off that. It says a lot more about Jeter, and I don't think people acknowledge that enough, and I want to acknowledge it.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good take. Yeah, I can't disagree with you there, Carl. Yeah, I mean, I don't really view either one of them as that bad of a guy. I don't know either of them personally. I mean, there's the knock on A-Rod for certain things, and I agree with certain reasons. But when you're talking about, strictly on-field play, I mean, I think I would have to say that A-Rod was the better shortstop. But again, it's like Correa and Lindor. Like, does it really, as a Mets fan, do you really care which one plays shortstop? I mean, I think Correa would be the better third baseman. You agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think he'd age into third base, and I think he'd like it. I mean, Machado came up as a shortstop, and you guys had J.J. Hardy, so I was like, all right, well, go over to third base for now. Oh, wait a second, you're a generational third base right now. Now why move him off?
The frame, the size. I think it's going to age much better if Correa stays at third base.
And you know what? He's still got shortstop money. He's not even going to play the fucking position. $315 million, 12 years. So now if you're a corner infielder or a second baseman and you have the Correa deal in play, Scott Boras is going to have a field day off that number.
Yeah. Scott does it again. God, I got to call him. I got to get him on the phone.
Please give him my regards too.
I will. All right, so now I'm going Omar Vizquel, Roberto Alomar. The Indians from 99 to 2001, I want to say that they had the highest fielding percentage. No, it wasn't the highest, but it was really, really fucking good. I think they both won Gold Gloves in all 3 of those years, if I'm not mistaken. But just two guys with hands that just everybody wished they had. And watching them play those 3 years as a kid, and kind of my first year of high school. Just I played shortstop for a little bit. I tried to mimic them, but I was fucking clumsy. I was way too clumsy to stay in the middle of the infield, so I had to go to third base.
I mean this with as much respect as possible. You probably got so mad when you made errors at shortstop or something. I can see you just fuming if you fucked up.
Well, who didn't get pissed when they made errors?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, just,
Don't sidestep that. You know what I mean.
I got pissed. What do you mean?
Oh boy. Type of guy who comes back in the dugout and the boys are looking at him like, don't fucking say
No, that wasn't me. No. I didn't throw
Make
shit.
eye contact with you. What?
No.
I took it up?
I took it to the plate. I took it to the plate in a good way, in a positive way. But then, if you spun me breaking balls, like good breaking balls, I'd swing and miss. So I was hunting the heater. I hit a lot of homers in high school, but could not hit off speed. Even that garbage they were throwing up there, those little spinners that you could see out of hand that didn't have late break, had early break, still couldn't hit it.
Front side, man.
Shoulder flew up. I tried to hit everything to left field.
Locked in.
I couldn't. I tried to hit everything to left field.
All right. Here's my last pick. Number 1 pick. A little sentimental here. Let's get deep. These guys kept their front hips locked in. This is also sponsored by something. I can't remember. This is not an actual sponsor, but you were just talking about something that made me think of something. No, I can't remember. Ron Santo and Ernie Banks, third base shortstop combination. Ron Santo is the reason I'm a Cubs fan. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. My dad's a massive White Sox fan. He had season tickets. I went to White Sox playoff games up until I was 7 years old. They went on strike in 94. My dad blamed Jerry Reinsdorf, much as many, many middle-aged men across the city of Chicago, for the stoppage in baseball. My dad is a diehard White Sox fan and arguably the biggest baseball fan I know. They went on strike. When they came back, if he saw a White Sox game on, he'd be like, what are you watching that shit for? They just signed Albert Bell. That guy sucks. He was so mad. So in the meantime, while this is going on, my brother Brian gets diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. Ron Santo has the primary charity for this disease. My mother gets super involved. Next thing you know, I'm in a radio booth with Ron Santo, 10 years old, watching him call a game with Pat Hughes, who just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Pat. I should say elected to, not inducted yet. Incredible experience to go from being like a diehard White Sox fan as a little boy to them being like, we don't watch the White Sox, talk about them in the house right now. Okay, well, can I be a Cubs fan? Yes, Brian gets this disease. I had this relationship with Ron Santo as a kid. Amazing experience around Wrigley Field. Sorry, Brian, you had type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, but it brought you close.
It
brought you close to Ron Santo.
I made the most out of that, and Ron Santo's a big deal in my family. He's a big fucking, when he got elected to the Hall of Fame, big. Number 10 in a Cubs uniform, the statue at Wrigley Field. He doesn't get nearly as much credit because of Brooks Robinson, but Ron Santo. And he played his entire career with a disease that had absolutely no coverage or research, and then used his career to raise all this fucking money, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars for juvenile diabetes research.
Damn. He's a special human being.
You look at his numbers, too, and you think about the fact that guy's doing that, being like, I have low blood sugar, someone give me a Coca-Cola, okay. And he never told anyone he had diabetes because he was like, if they find out, then I'm going to get cut. So he did all that shit behind the scenes.
Wow. I probably would have done the same thing, especially at the time. Wouldn't you? No, if I can grind this out. Fuck it, I'll handle it.
Fuck yeah, dude. And then obviously Ernie Banks. I mean, what do you want me to say about that? 500 home runs.
Legend. Maybe I don't
Swinging.
know if there's I got to spend a little bit of time with him, before he passed, but I don't know if there was anybody who enjoyed playing the game of baseball more than Ernie Banks. I mean, most guys love the game and enjoy to play, but he took it to a different level. And I think that just the smile and just his one-liners, let's play too. Like fuck, man. Nobody reached that level of excitement for the game of baseball from start to finish the way that Ernie Banks did, at least in my mind.
I'm going to put you on the spot now, big fella. Can you think of a player today that you've played with or against that has an extremely high level of childish love for baseball, where it's like, man, this guy fucking, when you're a kid, I'll go play a triple header. I just want to play baseball. Who in today's game just loves it?
Man, in today's game, well, from afar, it's got to be Ohtani. Just kind of watching the way that he jokes around as maybe the best player in the field at any time, and I think he speaks a little English, not perfect English. Always telling jokes, always upbeat. So I got to go with him. And as one of the faces of the game, it's good for the younger generations to see a player of that caliber with that sort of ability still enjoy the game and laugh and kind of not take it as seriously sometimes, because at the end of the day we're playing a game, and the way he approaches it, it's something I really respect, and I think most people do.
It's funny you mention Ohtani. I don't know if you know this. I played golf with Joe Madden.
Yeah, I heard a time or two. Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to the well, pal, because I asked him, like, how do you manage that guy? And he's like, you don't have to. He's a kid. I could put him. He wants to play shortstop. He shows up every day. Like, I want to. Like, you don't understand, Carl. You don't understand.
And he could do it.
We have to tell him to get off the field during batting practice. Stop shagging. He'll go stand out in shortstop and field ground balls off the bat. He just loves it so much. He'll be turning double plays. Shohei, get off the field.
That is a great way to tell if a guy really loves the game or not. Like how much they shag. And power shag, how much fun is power shagging? Most pitchers I know had a glove specifically for power shagging. It was usually the 12 3/4, 13-inch outfield mitt, just patrolling the outfield. When a lefty would come up and we knew it was kind of late in the rounds of BP, we would kind of shift to right field because we knew we were going to get more balls over there, and vice versa with the righties. We would sometimes, take some grounders at short, but we'd get yelled at for that. But yes, if you're trying to find out if a guy really loves the game, like watch how much he shags. That's
what is power shag? I've shagged so much, and now you say I'm like, I didn't make it to the big league, so did I ever really shag? What's a power shag?
Power shag is like when a ball goes in the air, like you're treating it like a game situation. You're not just jogging over and kind of letting it bounce. You're busting your ass to the gap to try and catch it. You're doing everything except diving.
I didn't know. Hey, there's
It's
a name
power
for
shag.
that. That was Carl. Get the fuck out of the outfield.
Oh, and there were times we'd get yelled at where a guy, there's one of the coaches kind of standing behind one of the big screens at second base, and in between pitches, kind of hitting the guy's ground balls in the gaps, and they're making throws to second base or third base, whatever it is. And so you kind of learn. It's usually the second or third group where you can kind of fill into the outfield positions and then do your power shagging. But if you're trying to shag while the position players are shagging, they don't like that at all. So just as a heads up for young players, let your position players get their work in before you try and do your thing, because they
I was told one time, a right fielder who I was very close friends with, shout out Nick Stockwell, orthopedic surgeon now, if anybody's got a fucking bad knee, Nick told me, pulls me aside, he goes, hey, one of these days you're going to need me to make a play out here, and I'm out here trying to get my fucking work in, so you're going to have to make a decision right now. Do you want to get back, you want to get out of here, or do you want to let me get my fucking work in? It was just a very stern, and again, one of my buddies, very close friend of mine, went to Alaska for his wedding just to demonstrate how close we are. Yeah, those guys take it serious because, like, dude, you're gonna need me. Get out of here. All right, your last.
Right. Yeah, they're watching us just fuck around the outfield. Like, oh, you having a good time? Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to make plays.
And that said, I will fuck around.
My
I do
last
wanna
pick?
fuck around. So they just like get that out there. I'm one of those guys like to fuck around. I'm cutting you off. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Last pick.
No doubt. No, you're good. So my last middle infield pick is Barry Larkin, Brett Boone, Cincinnati Reds, 94 to 98. Barry won 3 Gold Gloves, and I think Boone had 1. Brett Boone made 2 errors in 1997 for a 997 fielding percentage. Pretty incredible. And combined over those years, they had a 985 fielding percentage. So I think it would have been it wouldn't have been smart to leave Barry Larkin off of that list. And based on the year that they had combined in 97 for, Boone had 2 errors. Pretty fucking awesome.
Brett. Yeah, I
like
like Brett Boone. I like the whole Boone family with the Reds. I like a baseball family. I think his old man was like a coach with him or something, and Aaron came up and played, and I think they
So impressive to have just one big leaguer in the family, but then when you have multiple, like just insane.
Yeah, and I want to say, I did a podcast with Brett Boone. I got to go back and dig in the archives. I went on a guest podcast or something. I want to say he was on there. Jason Kendall. It's like a wrestling podcast. That was a weird time in my life. Good list from you guys. I think this is a good debate topic for Correa and Lindor and how he fits in the lineup. Now, like I said, I can see a way where McNeil can get out to left field if that's something McNeil likes. If they have a reason to move him over because this third base prospect's hot, and these guys need playing time. You have to expect that. You have to give these guys an opportunity to consistently struggle. If you're going to look at them one day and say, "Go do something for me," let them fail.
Right. Well, and also let them play around these superstars and on a team that, how many potential Hall of Famers are on this team? What a good group of guys for rookies or young players to grow on. It's just you don't get to see that every day.
We have a couple other things I want to get to quickly. These are like notable news items I'd categorize. Outside of that, great discussion around Carlos Correa going to the Mets, because just what a beautiful piece of news. Steve Cohen dropping that money in Hawaii, Scott Boras being tied in there. Love to talk to Scott when things cool off. But there's some other stuff I want to get to here. Little crossover, personal. Matt Carpenter, beautiful Dick Brooms, headed to the Padres on a 1-year deal, guaranteed $12 million. Good for Matt Carpenter. A chance to get to $24 million on like an option thing just kind of gives me more confidence that Machado opts out at the end of the year when I see that he's got a second year tied to his thing. $12 million guaranteed. Matt Carpenter's still doing it. Good for him.
Still doing it, man. He's. I saw the terms of the deal. Obviously happy for him. He loves the game. Great teammate. We'll see how many plate appearances he's going to get. But to see him kind of go through what he did, St. Louis, and then being with the Yankees, and dealing with a little bit of injury, now going to San Diego. He's going to be a nice piece for them to have and an option, probably off the bench for the most part. But a championship pedigree, great player, great teammate. The Padres are lucky to have him.
And his mustache.
Mustache is, it's
now. Does he get rid of it, or does he come back with something? Because the Padres will.
I think he'll have the beard. No, he'll probably have the beard going again.
We are done for the year before the holiday season. It has been a long year. I believe this is my 290th piece of recorded content with a producer from Barstool Sports in 2022. We're taking the week off for the holidays. I hope you guys don't mind me recharging the batteries, coming up with some ideas. There might be something out there. Maybe I'll put together a best of. Don't ask Colin to do it. He has worked his dick off this year. If anything, go follow the kid. We appreciate the efforts from Colin. Jake, appreciate the efforts from you.
We sure do. Yeah. Trying to get better always. It's been a hell of a year. We've got a lot of fun things that are going to happen next season. I'm excited about it. I've learned a lot doing the show with you, working with Colin. It's been great to be with Barstool. I'm looking forward to some more baseball, man. It's been weird not having it, but we've had some exciting things happen. A lot of teams have gotten better, a lot of teams haven't. The story of every offseason, but it's been a fun ride, dude. We're gonna keep it going.
We're good at this. We're only getting better. Subscribe to the channel. Give the gift of starting 9 this Christmas season. Just drop the link in a text. Say Merry Christmas. You're a better baseball fan because of this. It's the best gift you can give. Until then, we'll be back next year with the best baseball show on the internet. Carl here signing off. Thank you guys.
Love you guys.